Claymation's strengths, honor, and negotiation in a cool market. I said before I would make a video about the horror and commercial value aspects I talked about in the last video. Just tease those. And I will now because I have a little bit more time on my hands. I'll try to make sure I cover this in no more than 12 minutes, but no less than 12 minutes either because I actually need to get into a few things. Let's see if I keep that promise, see if it's exactly 12 minutes. How cool that'll be. Market for that. No, but seriously. When I said horror and commercial value, and I then teased even ahead of that, horror education and commercial value in the stock market as per examples of weirdness. What I was really referring to are things like clue finders who had horror education as their example. Things like Numbers, the show on live action series, like in the early 2000s, which had educational value for math in the form of a pop series. Had a bit of commercial value, but not necessarily in an advertisement way, but yeah. And I was not loosely saying this. I meant that in the most sincere way, even if it had nothing to do with stop motion. These things come about very creatively if you know what you're doing. The thing I don't necessarily have an issue with, but still happens to be a circumstance that could be good or bad weighing in, is the fact that one of the most popular claymations that have ever existed have been in the horror and Christmas and otherwise commercial value and pandering to their strengths kind of thing realms. And when I say pandering to their strengths, that is exactly what I'm talking about here. It is not by any coincidence that claymation has been a good medium as an animation medium for horror and Christmas. It's that in Halloween and Christmas, the commercial value isn't just there because of claymation. It's there because claymation does it well. And I understand that. But it's like, what I'm going to get into in this video is being understanding enough to figure out how to negotiate these traits and honoring them and making sure that in this market of coolness, you can find a way to get what you want and what you would offer in the best of both worlds. One of my biggest problems with my own Otter Crosswind channel, other than the life story stuff, was how I was going to negotiate making claymations that I wanted and claymations that other people wanted. And this included the things that people were expecting to see from me, that they could also make the same as myself if negotiated from either end of that, whether that makes sense or is a big deal or not. But for me to start on that behalf, making sure that maybe I could offer something at the same time that's something that I want, they want, can be pretty cool in its own way, but it's tricky because sometimes you think of it as being like a truthless strategy. If you see in his channel how he makes videos about how to do what you want while other people want it too, or at least something in between, somewhere every once in a while. He had an idea where it was like you can make a video that you like and then a video that they like and then go back and forth. And I don't overcomplicate that. If you know who you are, I don't mean hard on you, but you know, just quote for truth. But like, you know, again, as per the title, claymation strengths, honor, and negotiation in a cool market. When I say cool market, I'm talking about when people say claymation is cool. That's a little tease of that. But why do they say it's cool? Is it because they're being honest about how aesthetically pleasing claymation is? Or is it because they really don't want to have to make a big deal about something that is a very intricate and complex the way it is? Which could be a deeper insight about that anyways, about stop motion. Maybe it could be, but I wouldn't have to pander that too much after making the videos I have before recently about how claymation should have been deep, or maybe it could be deep, or whatever else, as I said in those videos. And if you've seen my podcast series, this is relevant. I'll get to that in a second. But like, if you've seen my podcast series, the Human Game Console Podcast, you'll know that I make sacrifices for myself and on behalf of everyone else to learn how to be a human being and to learn how to do it properly, whether that has a spiritual context or not. But I make those videos in that podcast because I know that it helps somebody to understand that we're not alone with each other, but we're also unique in our own ways. We're unique and relatable in that own fashion. But playing as this human being is a hard game to play because it has rules that may or may not make sense, that may or may not be worth it, or may not be hard. It depends on even how complicated they are. But, you know, the reason that's relevant to claymation is because negotiating what claymation I'll make next, even if I should just care about myself or I care about other people, they think of this even in the content creator scheme or even the just be casual YouTuber scene, because there are many arguments and debates about whether YouTubers should have just been casuals or content creators, and even I get into that stuff sometimes. But like, When they say the question is, who are you and what do you want? They're not fooling around. They know that people want to be casuals, but they also want to also be productive. And so if you have to choose between those things, it kind of sucks. But having a business-oriented model for even the things you do in your own life and not just on YouTube helps a lot. Because having a little bit of strategy, not too much of it, helps a lot. But when they say this, they're talking about, like, do you want to make only the content that you like or only the content that people would service from so that you can feel grateful for it? And if you have the best of both worlds, you're on a rock and roll mode. But some people think that that's impossible to have, and you might as well decide. But there you go. It's like, and this comes no short with the art and animation community at large. Even though I still think, by a hot take, that animation isn't just creativity, as I said before, maybe. But we'll get into that maybe later. The art and animation community at large, where you know that working as a starving artist, quote unquote meme thing, or even relatable phrase, still rings true. You don't have to be a starving artist. You just have to find out where your opportunities are, and that could be true or deafening in other ways. But the reason that is still relevant to Claymation is because, as a Claymation animator myself, I have had to make negotiations with myself. What would be true burnout? What would be true selling myself short or shooting myself in the foot and throwing on actual Claymations like that would have been cool for me and other people by demand, even if it was my demand as well. And so I've had to wonder sometimes, do I make Claymation because I know that it will help other people, or because it's something that makes me feel good? Hopefully that should be the same thing, but it happens to be that in my specific example, even Claymations, like I said this in the last video already, but the the first SCP Claymation I made with the 48 second one, it was like a little creative. It's a little less marketable because it's creative, but it's also relevant because it's the brand, I guess. So I technically the copyrights have been weird for a lot of things, to say at least. But it's entertaining because it's unexpected, but it's also like a little less easy to intrigue because it's focused on a brand that people would only want you to expect doing proper with sometimes, if that makes sense. And even if it's creative and diverting from that a little bit in a good way, it's still gonna not be easy to market sometimes. But that depends, I guess. And that's just one way of explaining that. But taking something into consideration like Sucking Science, the Claymation with the two blob characters, red and blue, where I just did a somewhat original Claymation with that. That's not easy to market, but it's also like it's still entertaining and new and unique. But this goes on. It's like negotiating whether I make a Claymation for myself or other people, and whether I have a business model that's strictly productive by content creation demands and even the quality content ones. And then seeing if I actually like any of those, and if I don't, how do I make it so I can like it and other people do. And I've had this struggle for many years on this channel, like straight up 5 years or more, even going as far back as 2010, 2011, where I made the first clay pop showcase and the vlog video. You can tell that I don't necessarily burn out, but I never get to the point of burning out because I'm always wondering what to do next, if I even hiatus on purpose and all that, so to speak. And that's not make that too much about myself, though. Let's go back into Claymation. What kind of Claymation strengths are there other than horror and commercial value? There's the fact that it looks cool, like I said before, the cool market factor. It looks cool. You make that one comment, typing it down. Cool, nice, cool Claymation. And that's not supposed to be taken personally, by the way. I used to take that personally before. I'm sorry I did. But people who are like me, who ramble anyways, or even at least somewhat have a bit of an intricate way of seeing their own art, which, by the way, again, Claymation's deep enough in its own way, light to make sense of that anyways, luckily. Or at least for a while bit. Even more than that. But that's why I'll make videos like Storyline Claymation, is because I want to actually see the best of that come out without burning out from any human intricacy or even anything that comes out of the actual film or project. It's like the fact that you're literally working with a real world earth clay material with technical cameras and all that, the things I said in the last video. I keep teasing that. Maybe I'll just get a 15-minute retention on the next video anyways. It's not the last one. But you have to be able to trust these strengths. You have to be able to honor them and negotiate with other people what you want to make cool about your own market. And I made this sound like I was going to end the video, but I'm not going to just get 12 minutes, I promise, 12 minutes. One of the best ways that you can actually negotiate a strength or a weakness in Claymation therein is allow a weakness to be there as long as you're going to improve on it. And then focus on a strength primarily speaking, a strength that you can actually respect even if you don't like it, because this follows a little bit with some other advice I heard before, satisfaction versus passion. And it's like, yeah, claymation for me would might as well be just a satisfaction. I have to eventually truly truly manifest that passion for claymation over time, but the satisfaction still certainly can be there, and I promise it will be, at least for now. But there is certainly a passion I have for how people react to this stuff. And I don't mean to make this objective. I mean, I don't mean this materialistic or shallow or worrying about what people think of me. But when people truly react to what I make in a way that not even I can see it coming, and in beyond the taking the cool claymation thing personally, it's nice because people will see stuff in even my art that I don't even see myself, and it's like, yeah, because that's how art works. It's perspective driven for things, emotional context. A lot of this comes into any kind of art form, not just claymation, animation. But you want to find out for yourself what you really like and what you're doing, and passion would be a good way to drive that. But even without that, being at least satisfied is true. Whatever Dr. Wolf said about that was true. Is like you can still certainly find a way to be satisfied, even if it wasn't about the other ikigai wheel aspects, the money, demand, and talent. Because I certainly do have a talent in claymation. I should stop saying that I don't have passion for it, but it certainly is there. The potential is there to grow the channel and to grow the things I have with this stuff, and to make sure I make the most out of what I have with this while I still have it, and not just throw it down the drain just because I don't want to have it be painful. Because the discomfort won't be forever. But claymation potential I have, I know the potential I have to make this work for myself and make the channel be what it could be, and even my own lifestyle. That comes as its own strength, negotiated for a cool market.